Hello guys, and welcome to the Divide Empire Battle Tactics series. And in this series, we will discuss in detail about the battle tactics that we can use for some specific faction or group of faction in the mod Divided Empire. Okay, so as you know, the battle in the mod Divided Empire is very deep and realistic compared to the base Rome 2. And with this series, I hope that I can help you guys to have a better understanding about the battle mechanics in the mod Divided Empire, and to have a better experience when playing the mod, and to have a more immersive battle. Now let's go. The first faction that we will talk about would be the Roman, and we would talk about the unit composition, the battle formation that we can use to fight battle as a Roman, the unit formation that the Roman have, and finally we talk about how to use the Roman to fight against a specific enemy in the campaign. Okay, in the first part, we will talk about the unit composition of the Roman. What kind of unit you want to have in your own army, and the battle formation that we can use with the Roman. Right. So let's see the unit composition of the Roman. The Roman, they have access to a wide range of units. They have the largest unit pool compared to other factions. They have a large set of auxiliary troops you can recruit everywhere. So over here, I will talk about only the basic Roman army that you can recruit easily everywhere with only the Roman unit, but you can replace any of them with better auxiliary when you have them available to recruit. Okay. So because of the population system in Divided Empire, with an army, you want to have units from different population class. Like this guy, the ruralry and the village would be, we use the third class population. The Principe, we use the second class population, and the Triary and the Cavalry, we use the first class population. So you will be able to actually recruit them and replenish them more easier. The bread and butter of the Roman army will be the Principe. They will be our main line infantry. I'm using the Principe here because for the majority of your campaign, you will be using the Principe. From Polybian Reform on turn 40 to Marian Reform on turn 130, you will be using the Principe to fight battle. That the majority of the campaign on turn 130 is already the late game, and after you have Marian Reform, the Principe will become legionary, and basically they are still the same unit, but then they will use the third class population instead of the second class population, which makes them even easier to recruit and replenish. They are a very strong, good unit to use, very flexible unit. So I like to use 6 of them in my army, 6 Principe, at mainline infantry. If you want more historical accurate army, you want to use I think you want to use some of the hastati in your army as well. But as a game, I don't think there is any reason to use the hastati at all, because they are not very cheap. They are not really cheap. Not as cheap as the Rurari. They still use the second class population just like the Principe, and they are much worse than the Principe. So there's really no reason to use the hastati at all. You can just use 6 units of the Principe and no hastati at all. Okay, over here at the spear mid-shield unit, I will use the Rurari. This guy will be the one to take enemy missile attack, like the javelins or the slingstone or archer fire. This guy will take it for the Principe to protect them from this damage. Basically, they are the mid-shield unit, so they are cheap, they are easy to replace, and you can replace this Rurari with any mercenary or area recruitment or auxiliary units available to you. Just cheap and random units will fill this role very well. At the ranged unit back here, I will use the Velite. The Velite is the best range unit in the base Roman unit roster, but you will have better range units as you have access to more auxiliary or more area recruitment unit, like the crossbowman, for example, like Cretan archer, like Rhodian slinger or Balearic slinger, or many. And you can replace this Velite with those units, with the crossbowman, with the Cretan archers. They will perform better. But for a base Roman army, I will use the Velite. Don't even use the Roman slinger. They are the worst slinger in the game. Don't use them. Just use the Velite. The Velite is very strong. They are decent. They have good range attack, and they are quite decent in melee as well. A very good unit to have. Okay. In the back line, I will use 3 units of Triary, or you can use some heavy spear, different heavy spear if you have access to. The Triary will be the rear guard, doing guard the rear and defend against enemy flanking attack. Support the cavalry to fight the enemy cavalry. And finally, cavalry. We have to use like 4 units of cavalry in the Roman armies. Cavalry is very important for the Roman army, because the Roman unit, they are very durable, they are very good defensively. But on the other hand, all of our units pretty bad when it comes to attack. Like, we have very good armor, very good melee defense on all of our unit. The Triary has really good start, very good melee defense, very good armor, and we have a wide range of formation. Every unit of us will have defensive formation, we have hollow square, and we have testudo formation. But all of these just increase their durable, just increase their defensive power. We have like almost no offensive power as the Roman. So cavalry would be very important. They would be the hammer, they would be the punch our punch to deal damage to the enemy. Over here, I will use the Equites, the only cavalry available to the Roman. They are not that great. They're actually pretty weak cavalry unit in the game. Nothing special about them. But that's the only cavalry units that we have with a basic Roman army roster. When you have a set to better cavalry, replace this guy with better cav, like the companion cavalry that you can recruit in Monogracia, like the Tarentine cavalry of the Great. They are quite good, like the Cataphract, auxiliary Cataphract, like better cavalry. However, with the Equites, we will probably be fine. They will get the job done. And this will be the Roman army composition that I normally use. And they perform really well in battle. Very flexible armies that will perform very well against many different kinds of enemy. Right. And next we will talk about the battle formation of the Roman that I normally use. Okay. And over here you can see this is the formation that I normally use as a Roman. You can see I'm trying to imitate the triple RC formation of the Roman in history, in reality, but it's not the triple RC. In the front line will be the rotary, because they are the mid-shield unit. I'm trying to make them take the enemy charge, take the charge from the enemy, take the javelin, take the arrow. Yep, just take the casualty for the Principe. For the 6 Principe, I would deploy them into 2 lines like this. The reason is we will try to make a very narrow and compact formation to take advantage of the durability of the Roman infantry. Our Roman infantry is very durable. We want to fight defensively, make the enemy attacking us, and we will grind them down, rise them down. We will try to use our better elite rear guard, the triary, to defeat the enemy's flanking force, defeat the enemy flanking move with our triary and the cavalry, and then we move out to counter flank the enemy. So now let's take a battle example to see how this formation works in reality. Okay, so over here we will have an example of how this formation will work in a battle. We move the formation towards the enemy. Engage them. Okay. Just move and keep the formation. Like this, the rotary in the front, Principe to line the Principe, the village in the fourth line, and followed by triary cavalry in the back. So the idea here is we try to keep the enemy at bay using the rotary and the first line of the Principe we tank all of the enemy front line with our 2 first line. And then when the enemy make the flanking move over here, like this 2 cavalry, they're trying to flanking us here, we will use the 2nd Principe line. We will use the triary over here, move out. We will use the cavalry, we will use the village if we need to, and move out here, counter flank this guy. Our cavalry is really weak. Roman cavalry is really weak, so you don't want to use the Roman cavalry. You don't want to use the cavalry to fight the enemy cavalry head on. You will need to use support, and the triary is perfect for that. The triary will be able to defeat most of the enemy cavalry and infantry as well. And the Principe would be really useful take out enemy cavalry as well. Over here we already take out one of their cavalry, but they will move here and they will keep trying to flank us. We are making a defensive line over here with our Principe. The 2nd line of Principe will be kept at reserve. We will move them out when our first line breaks, or when we need to reinforce our first line. Okay, after we deal with the cavalry over here, the triary move back into position and defend. We play very defensively, try to defend our flank here. The majority of their units is attacking our front line over here. Another cavalry moves this way, but we have 2 units of cavalry and 1 unit of triary to defend against them. Another cavalry units this way, but we have 2 other cavalry. 2 versus 1, and we should be fine. So the triary already engaged against the enemy flanking attack. And this is one of the very strong units of the enemy, the Boii Argois. They are one of the very strong spear unit. Look at their start. Then the noble spearman, a very strong one. But we do have a very strong units here as well, which is the triary. And when we engaged in melee with their flanking infantry here with the Principe like this, we will move the village out to the back. We move them out to the back and move around to shot at their flanking infantry in the back. And of course we need to kill all of the enemy cavalry first. Yeah, like this, using our units like this. The Principe we keep in reserve and then can move outside to support the cavalry fight or to defend against enemy cavalry that is trying to exploit the gap in our formation like this. We still have plenty of reserve units back here, while our Principe in defensive formation will be able to hold the front line very well. In formation, the Principe will be very tanky. As you can see here, they are having 50 armor and 16 melee defense. That's very strong. That's very powerful. The Rorari just take over here. The Rorari is routed, but they already take the enemy charge. And as you know, the charge monarch is very important for an attacking unit. Without the charge monarch, they are much weaker. So our Principe will be able to tank against this guy very well because they don't have the very good charge. They are blocked by the rotary. The rotary can just route and get destroyed. We will be able to replace them easily. See, we carry charge here, but we have 2 units to catch them in melee. These 2 reserve will then get here, attack the cavalry, and protect the flank and rear of the Principe unit. This cavalry will be attacked by 3 units. The cavalry is die, and the enemy spearman is being shot in the back by our village. We will be able to destroy this unit soon. Just like this. Okay, after we deal with the enemy cavalry, our cavalry will be free to move around and get rid of the enemy missile unit. It's time to get rid of the enemy missile unit. And over here, when our Principe is in their formation, they are very strong against missile attack as well because the amount of armor they have. Very high armor. And we keep some units in reserve. After dealing with the enemy flanking attack, we will move our unit to the flank of the enemy and do the counter flanking. Use the valley to shot at the enemy flank. Use the valley to shot at the enemy flank here. Move the triary around and flank the enemy. Charge into their backs. Like this. And once we have our triary, Principe, and village in the back of the enemy, it's already over for them. Over here, one of the enemy cavalry just come back. We rout this unit, but we didn't make them shatter, so we just come back to the fight and charge into my village. That's pretty bad, but we always have reserve as a Roman. We have a triary here protecting the village, so we should be fine. The triary will defeat any kind of cavalry in the game. They will be able to defeat any cavalry in the game, while our cavalry is killing the enemy. Archers back here. Actually, the boy I have a very strong archer unit. The boy I Knight Warrior. They are very strong. They are fighting against. They can destroy our cavalry in melee actually, but we have more than one cavalry unit. We should be able to defeat them. Good. After we use all of the village ammunition, we can just charge them into melee. Attack, flank the enemy with the village in melee as well. And we still have plenty of reserve units here to move around and attack the enemy in the flank. So how this work? You can see here we have a compact formation in this area, and our unit in the center can move to the side. To support each other much easier than the enemy who is using a wider formation. So there are units in the center. If they want to move a unit like over here to support the cavalry fight, for example, they will need to move for a very long distance around our formation like this. So their unit will be able to support each other. While with us, we are having a very compact formation, very close. Our units stay very close together, so we can move our unit around to both the flank to support the other unit much easier. And we will destroy the enemy, part of the enemy's flanks with our stronger backline unit, while our infantry in the front line will be able to hold back the enemy very effectively. And that's the strength of the Roman army. They are very flexible, they fight really well outside of the formation, but they also have a formation that helps them to tank the enemy very effectively. Yes, so when we have the Principe to the back of the enemy like this, it's already game over for them. It's already game over. The cavalry now will be used to chase down enemy routed units only. We don't even need to use the cavalry to do the flanking. All the flanking will be done by our strong infantry. Like this. Just turn off the formation, move around, charge in there, flank the enemy, fight outside of the formation. Anyone that's run away will be chased down by the velite, by the cavalry. That's their job now. And yeah, that will be a very clean victory against the barbarian. This is a very good stack of the barbarian actually. A very strong one, but no match for the Roman. So in the first part we have talked about the unit composition and the battle formation that we can use with the Roman. In the next part we will talk in detail about the unit formation of the Roman units and how to use them effectively. We talk in very detailed about that. How to use the defensive formation, how to use the square, when we use them, why and how. And in the third and the last part we will talk about how to fight some against some specific enemies of the Roman. So this will be the end of our first part. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you will like this video. If you do like it, please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Thank you very much and see you in the next part.